What's up, everyone, and welcome back to some more Oxygen Not Included action. Today, we're going to be messing around with rockets, specifically the heat generated from the engine of rockets. I was having a slight discussion with someone in the comments section there, Broken Wings, or on Broken Wings, rather. We were going back and forth about what he was trying, or he or she was trying in debug with harvesting the heat generated from rockets to potentially run a turbine or even turn oil into petroleum. So that got me thinking, and it got me curious about the potential energy that we could harvest from rockets. And this is something that I actually was curious about when rockets first came out, but I never really got around to messing with it. So this kind of brought it back up for me and kind of piqued my curiosity again. So we're going to kind of mess around with that. As you can see, I've currently got an empty map here, kind of just prepped for some rockets. What we're going to do is we're going to set up multiple different rockets with different kind of I guess heat batteries is what I'm going to call them. So they're going to be slightly different variations of maybe hydrogen and metal tiles, or pure hydrogen, or a mix of different gases and metal tiles, and we're going to kind of see which one is best for not only absorbing that heat energy, but also transferring it over to a turbine or potentially a petroleum factory or something like that. So we'll come back when I have multiple rockets set up. See you then. All right, we're back. As you can see, we've got some rockets here. They're full of petroleum right now. We've used petroleum generators on every rocket, and we've just went with a very simple basic rocket because we don't really care about what's on it. We're just trying to see what kind of heat it generates, and there's potentially different engines might generate more heat or less. I don't know. That might be something I explore in the future, but right now we're using petroleum because petroleum is rather easy to get your hands on, and it's not very complicated to make it. So I'm just going to go with something very basic. And right now I accidentally launched one actually, but I didn't realize that you could actually launch it in debug without a duplicate in it. So I accidentally did that, and yeah, that's what happened. So this thing is already heated up, and as you can see, it's actually 800 degrees down here. I guess I should explain the tile setup before I go into that. But yeah, I accidentally launched it, and right now we're around 800 degrees. So so far so good. That was just the first test. I've got to do a couple different things I wanted to test. So first of all, we just have metal tiles here, just tungsten. Here and here, these are exactly the same setup, except for you can see there's like one extra tile in the rest of these, because for some reason when I use the copy tool over here, it adds these little steel blocks for whatever reason. But instead of going through each one and like shifting it over, I just left it as is. So there's going to be a slight inconsistency as far as the experiment goes. Also, some of these tiles start out at different temperatures because of the gases I'm adding, but overall we'll get a general idea of what's best. So this first rocket I launched with the tungsten here, and then it just has temp shift plates, and the second one I'm going to launch is the exact same with temp shift plates except for drywall. Now I'm thinking that the drywall is going to contain the carbon dioxide that the rocket gives off a little bit longer, and so it's going to be able to transfer a little more heat down to this hydrogen here. So let's see if I can figure this out. There's the star map. So I don't actually know what these are named. Adios 6. Okay. Or Adios? I don't know. Okay, so right here. So we're going to launch this guy. We're going to choose, this is the same place I went to the other one, this carbon asteroid. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this rocket. Select this asteroid and say launch. There we go. Okay, so now the second one's going to go off here. And yeah, we're going to damage all the gantries, but it doesn't matter. So there's that one. You can see the carbon dioxide is getting sucked out, but it's sticking around a little bit longer. Whoa. What's going on here? We actually have... Oh, you know what? I actually don't know what's going on. Why is this happening? I was going to say the drywall is heating up, but the drywall is made of insulation. So the drywall is not heating up. Why was that rocket only 200 degrees? You know what I didn't do? I actually landed it right away. Land rocket. It's possible Okay, so the landing of the rocket is actually what generates most of the heat here. It might be better. Ooh, there's the planet that came back. I just got done reading the patch notes, so I'm excited about a lot of things. I'm glad they brought the fractured planet back. Anyway, so it's very similar in temperature, but we seem to be losing temperature to the carbon dioxide here. That may not be as hot, because it seems like when it takes off very quickly. It doesn't actually release a lot. So that carbon dioxide that it releases off when it takes off doesn't actually get very hot. It was only around 300 degrees or something that we saw. And then when it lands, it actually stays. It actually takes a lot longer for that rocket to land. So let me pause it. It's sort of outputting heat. It's outputting more heat when it lands than when it takes off. So I think no drywall behind it is actually going to generate us more heat. You know, that first little burst of heat when it takes off is only a couple hundred degrees. We want that to get sucked out to space immediately. And we want the landing to actually be what generates the most heat. We want to harvest all that. Because you can see it's actually quite cooler over here. And it's not really going down much anymore. So it's going down somewhat, so around 700 degrees. So it's almost 100 degrees colder. Not quite, but you know, we're almost there. So the insulation or the drywall actually seems to be a little bit worse as far as containing the heat from the rocket engine. It could just be that this is one tile wider, but I don't think that's going to be it. So let's go on to these other gases and try this. So I'm going to launch these at the exact same time. And I put the temperature sensors in here just so I could click them and look at it. But I can just hover over it, so I don't even know why I did that. But so I'm going to launch these next two at the same time. These next two are hydrogen. And, well, they're all hydrogen. But these next two, one of them has a layer of metal, hydrogen, metal, hydrogen, metal, hydrogen. So I want to see how that functions. And I imagine the best one is going to be this one, where it's just sort of one room full of hydrogen. And then, you know, it transfers over to wherever it needs to go. This bottom layer of hydrogen is really to represent whatever we're trying to transfer the temperature to. Whether it be like oil to heat up into petroleum, or maybe a steam turbine room to run a turbine. So that's why I have sort of another gap here, and I'm not just measuring the ambient temperature in this room. So I imagine this one's going to be better because it has less that it's transferring to. So this one's going to transfer to the metal, and then to the hydrogen, and then to the metal, and then to the hydrogen, and then so forth and so on. But if we just have one room full of just hydrogen, then that's probably going to be the best. And these two over here, we're going to try with phosphorus later on. Let's launch these two next. This is the... There we go. So there's our first one. And then it's going to land right away. You can see we're up to 400 degrees right now. It should... There it comes. Yeah, so the landing is really what gives us the boost in temperature here. So let's kind of let it run a little bit and see what the temperature kind of balances out to. Because it is still transferring to whatever carbon dioxide here. Now we have a vacuum, so we shouldn't be losing any temperature. I mean, obviously the tiles are going to be balancing each other out. So like it's slightly hotter up there than it is down here. But for the most part, we shouldn't be losing any... Wait, are we heating... No, we shouldn't be heating anything else. This is a vacuum. There's not going to be any heat transfer over there. And all of these tiles are made of insulation. So we're not going to be transferring any temperature from one room to the other. So yeah, we're about balanced out 1200 here. So definitely much better than the 800 we got over here. So layering the metal, hydrogen, metal, hydrogen. All the metal is tungsten, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. We're around 1220 degrees. So that's pretty good. Let's launch this next one and see how that goes. So let's go now. So we're up to around 400 degrees on the takeoff, which is pretty consistent with what this one was. And looks like we balanced around 1224. So let's see what we hit over here. Now this one did spike up to about 1400 degrees on the initial landing, so it's looking about 1300. That's actually only slightly better, but it is better. You know, and if you're trying to harvest every little drop, obviously this is going to take more metal to make, so, you know, but this is going to take more drywall. One thing I haven't tested is if drywall, like non-insulation drywall, it absorbs heat. So let's try this right now, because that will be a big difference. So let's try something like I don't know, ceramic. No. Let's try Mafic rock drywall here. So we've got our Mafic rock. It does absorb temperature. Okay, I kind of messed that up. But yeah, we're settling around 1300 degrees on this guy, which was slightly warmer. It's about 100 degrees hotter than the sort of layered metal hydrogen we have going on over here. But we're probably not going to have insulated drywall here. One thing you could do, I guess, is bury your rockets in a biome that already has sort of like a background like this, and that way you wouldn't have to use drywall, and you could kind of get away with whatever, because this stuff doesn't absorb heat. You know, this background here, it isn't like a drywall. It's not like an object in the world. It doesn't absorb heat, so you won't lose any heat transfer there, or you won't have any energy loss to the background, to the drywall, like in these scenarios here. But this does slightly get better than this, although it uses more drywall. So depending on what you're making the drywall out of, you might want to go with this, because I think 100 degrees is probably not a big deal. But let's try the phosphorus. You know what we forgot? We forgot the... oh, I am a doofus. We forgot the temp shift plates over here. So I imagine this hydrogen with temp shift plates might actually do a little bit better. You know what? We'll relaunch them and see if the temperature changes. So the phosphorus actually did a lot better. We're at about 1500 degrees on the phosphorus. Now, as long as you're in a vacuum, right, where we're not transferring any this phosphorus isn't going to cool down too much. Obviously, if we're transferring the heat from the phosphorus to something else, it's going to cool down into a liquid. That's something that we have to be aware of. So it wouldn't be too hard to keep phosphorus in a liquid state. And what you could do is actually pump phosphorus into this until it was touching, you know, until it was connecting the bottom tile to the top. Let's do what I was talking about earlier. Let's add these temp shift plates. What were we over here? We were about 1224, and over here we were like 1320, I think. It was around 100 degrees more before I added that Mafic rock insulation. So let's go ahead and, you know what, let's replace this Mafic rock just to kind of keep things consistent with everything else. We'll put the insulation drywall back in, and then we'll do a relaunch. So what one's this? The SS Mars, and we can go ahead and launch our other one too, the Scientific Venesit. So that one will go off while we're waiting for this one to kind of balance out. So the temp shift plates definitely helped, I think. What were we at, like 1225 before, I think? So it gave us over 100 degrees more. The temp shift plates did, which is really nice. So yeah, it looks like 1386. Holy cow. Okay. Yeah, those temp shift plates really make a difference. This guy was like 1325, right? Or wait, no. I think this one was 12. Yeah, this one was like 1225. And this one over here was 13. I mean, obviously you guys will know because you'll have the video to kind of rewind and watch again. So this got a little over 100 degrees. And then this one, wow, 1500. Okay. It is still cooling down a little bit, but that's pretty dang good, guys. Every time you launch a rocket, you'll get either potentially more energy or potentially more petroleum to launch another rocket. Now, I might go into it and explore if I can get enough petroleum to like relaunch that rocket back to the same place. That'd be pretty incredible. I doubt that's a thing, because that would just be like every time you launch a rocket, it pays for itself, basically. That would actually be kind of interesting, and I might actually explore that because that really sounds like a good video. Let me know in the comments if you actually want to see that video, if you're curious about that, and I'll probably make it. Again, the phosphorus is definitely going to be better than the hydrogen, but it might be a little more finicky to get in here and working. You'll probably have to keep it in a liquid state, which means you have to heat it up and then cool it down, and cool it down enough to pump it. So you have to first melt the phosphorus from a solid into a liquid, and then you have to cool that liquid down enough to where it won't break your pump, and then you can pump that liquid into this chamber here. But yeah, there you go. So what we found out is that this little room here is definitely the best way to transfer the heat over, just a room full of hydrogen or phosphorus, which I figured it would be, basically from on Broken Wings' comments, he or she said that just a room like this was better, and it makes sense because gas is much better at transferring temperature to a solid tile than a tile is. And also here we're doing multiple transfers, right? We're doing from metal to gas to metal to gas to metal to gas, so we might lose some of that heat in the process. But yeah, there's the video. If you were curious about rockets and the heat coming off of rockets, how you could potentially use that energy to do other things, which we're probably going to explore in future videos. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, leave me a comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or ideas. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Oh, one quick thing. I'm currently doing League of Legends gameplays. I've got back into the ranking games of League of Legends. I'm currently only Silver 4, but I never really went hard on it, and I think I might start. But I'm uploading some of those games to my other channel. Link is in the description if you want to check those out. If you're interested in League of Legends, I know a lot of you will probably not be, but if you are interested, you can check it out. There's a lot of funny commentary that went into the first game. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.